4 years into our marriage, I uncovered her secrets. Part 1. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss another cheating story goes live. I have been with my wife for about 4 years, and unfortunately I've found some very hurtful things that she forgot to delete, and I have already told her if she lies or withholds anything important again, it's a divorce. Basically, she said everything that I wanted to hear during the time where I was at an extreme low in life. Here are brief examples of what I mean in order to give context. Please keep in mind, aside from these events, she is really amazing in a lot of ways. I do think she truly loves me, and she's absolutely great with the kids, and I love her wholeheartedly. Our problems have mainly been about her volunteering lies about her life before me to make herself out to appear to be way different than she actually was. When we started talking via WhatsApp, everything seemed great except the first time we spoke, she hung up the video suddenly, without any reason, until she eventually called me back 2 or 3 weeks later. I was hurt by this, and it has always been one of the main things which bother me about the start of our relationship. I considered it a done deal until she eventually got back to calling me and apologizing with a story, which ended up all being a huge lie. She was more than vague about what happened and had no real answers for why she went ghost on before even getting to our first date, without saying bye or anything or coming up with some excuse. Instead, she didn't respond to texts and calls during that time. Anything would have been nice. I really should have taken this as a big warning sign, but I let it go because she blamed it on being hospitalized, which is a very small amount of time compared to what she really was doing while she left me hanging. So I just believed it. She blamed it on a crazy fight with her ex, which was also a very small part of what really happened. On top of that, I come to find out years later that there was another dude that she was still having sex with, an additional who she dated and claims not to have been intimate with while we were starting to date. Even though she declined an open relationship when I brought it up. I didn't want to start anything off on a dishonest foot and told her this because while she disappeared, I had also begun seeing some girls from Tinder. I was not sure about her due to what happened, so I tried to make it easy for us to be free yet enjoy each other until we saw where things were headed. She declined and broke into tears and made a huge thing over it, so I agreed to start an exclusive relationship with her. She said she loved me almost immediately. I really felt I needed her love, so I assumed the best and shortly after felt myself falling for her too. She made it impossible not to. She said she wanted me to teach her program because her family are all developers and she was totally into it. She said she would never ever cheat, lie or deceive me. I told her from the get-go that I had some jealousy issues of my own to deal with. She said she would shower me in love and be fully transparent and patient with me, as I agreed to be and have always been with her. The first month or less she asked me for a small amount of money for gas. I flipped out, done being used for money from the last relationship, and told her I needed space, but we got back together right away because she said sorry and that she understood it was out of line due to us just meeting and understood where I was coming from but had no options aside from being stranded. I was really digging her aside from the trust issues, which I know are partially my fault, so we moved on. We voluntarily traded personal relationships and general background info. She told me she had only been with 4 men, because when she was younger she was scared of sex. I believed her. I would never expect her to tell me her number as I lost track of that a long time ago, but she wanted to let me know how different she was and keep me at ease. She let me know that it was her that broke up with ex because he spent all her money on his car, played video games all day and refused to get a legal job, furthering his education and his lack of goals. I am the exact opposite, so I gladly moved on. I let her know my ex did the same to me and how bad it feels to find out you're being used. She is bisexual and I was a bit nervous, but I felt so special with her, so despite my existing jealousy issues, I wholeheartedly accepted it, brought up the open relationship so we wouldn't feel as though we needed to sneak around. She declined adamantly again and cried like the day I suggested it, so I began taking her more seriously. She promised she would keep her job and would never let me feel used again. She said she wasn't talking to anyone else after she said the words "I love you" and had absolutely no plans to ever again because she was head over heels for me. Like a sucker does, I soaked it right up because it's exactly what I thought I needed to hear. On average during this time she was driving to my very small house at the time about 50 miles each way and then spent weeks at my house. My guess is she was not always at work when she said she was, because other than that I don't even know when she would have had time to cheat as often as she was at first, since we were together all the time right from the start. I told her very specifically there was one other person from the app she was talking to but ghosted him for me because I was all she could think about. I told her about who I was seeing from the app and that I stopped using the app and then eventually deleted it from my phone once we got serious. She told me she knew I was the one since our first date when we kissed, which is the same night we slept together. Again, putting insecurities aside, I took a new approach and believed her wholeheartedly. She told me she was never engaged and couldn't wait to have me teach her to code. My ex didn't like hearing about tech, but for me it's a passion, not just my job, so it was a problem because my ex and I had zero overlapping passions. She again said the perfect things about how her goal was to have me start teaching her immediately so she could begin her career transition. I was elated. I could see myself being with her forever. I told her my 3 major issues. I need a partner, not a user. There is no I in the team and it is us against the world. She made FB posts about how 2 people must work in a marriage in today's economy, and along with her words, I had no tangible reason not to believe other than my gut, which also doesn't trust due to my previous relationships affecting my ability to trust with absolute confidence. I realized that if I am serious about her, I must believe what she tells me as if it was true. Unless I have reason to doubt her, which was not 100% the case, so I did that by not checking her stories or analysis of her Facebook. I told her the deal breakers for me are infidelity, lies, using me, and mainly that she has no alcohol issues since my mom was an alcoholic and I will not go through what my dad did. She quickly dismissed this as a complete non-issue. We drank on our first date. I saw no red flags at that point. She said cheating was not something she has done, it's just not who she is. Here I am almost 4 years in, and after catching her in a few lies I began periodically checking through her wall, and that's when the truth began to show itself. Big time. We traded background info on what we have been up to prior to our meeting, and came to find it was all a big load of BS. As it turns out, here is the truth about the woman who is my wife. During the time we first met and she just disappeared, it turns out she went and dated 3 guys after getting released for a Baker Act that week. This is what took so long for her to come back to call me. She ghosted me mid-conversation our first time talking, to sleep with and date other people who she now says she thought were a better fit because they are from her part of South America. After checking around, it turns out that they ghosted her and she came back to me because, pathetically enough, I was still there for her after she did that so early in our relationship. She said she had months of space to get better and that she was fine because she left him and had me. It turns out there is overlap, and she was bragging to her best friends about their wedding date the month before we met, so I knew I had to keep digging. So she cheated but blames it on the length of our relationship at the time and that she says it wasn't as serious as she thought, and tries to interplay her actions by saying it was the beginning and things have changed now. Meanwhile, she was doing this as I was blocking phone numbers and became exclusive with her. I feel like a fool for believing the I love you trick because she doesn't seem to think that despite the age of relationship we were serious very quickly, I thought. And spent more time together the first 3 months than I ever have with anyone I just met. She was at my house anytime. She said she wasn't working in the beginning. There are more to come. Find out the update of this story, check our channel or the description. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.